used every supplement known to man to help me, so. Let's see here. So I'm gonna do today is another kind of workout that I really like to do. This one's a Mike Mentzer inspired workout. Mike Mentzer was a bodybuilder in the 70s who was like super controversial for his training methodologies, inspired by Arthur Jones, the inventor of Nautilus equipment. And essentially super low volume, very high intensity. Dorian Yates, who was Mr. Olympia during the 90s, trained in a similar fashion. So, you know, traditional bodybuilding training with, you know, multiple sets and exercises. What we're gonna do today is essentially one set to failure, maybe beyond failure. Right here, I'm foam rolling the teres major minor under the arm. I don't always foam roll before workouts, but I am today because the volume is so low. So it's not like I'm gonna be, I'll try warming up, but because I'm gonna be going such high intensity, you know, I don't wanna hurt myself. I typically don't train to failure. I will say this style of training produces very rapid muscle and strength gains, but it stops pretty quick. You'll plateau real quick if you keep it this way. Some people can keep doing it for some reason. That's a cool thing about strength training is individual variance is pretty wild. Although most people won't progress consistently this way, some people can. I mentioned Dorian Yates. He trained like this and won, I think 6 or 7 Mr. Olympias. Every time I train like this, I've got a good 4 weeks of gains and then it stops. And because the intensity is so high, the risk of injury is high because you got to use heavier weight. So I don't do it very often. I did incorporate some of this in MAPS Anabolic Advanced, but I did it in a way to where you could alternate it. Essentially, you're supposed to alternate it with a higher volume, lower intensity option, which seems to extend the gains. So I extend my arm here and I roll over the scapula. And when it gets tight, I just kind of let it sit there for a bit until I feel it let off a bit. One thing that was unique with Mentzer's approach was that he did what were called pre-exhaust supersets. So the theory was that if, let's say you go to failure on a bench press for your chest, that the smaller muscle groups would give out before the larger one. So his theory was that if you isolate the pecs first, with let's say a fly, go to failure with the fly, then immediately jump into bench press, you'll get that real failure of the chest. Now the data doesn't necessarily support his theory, but I honestly don't care because I know a lot of data that counters things that I've witnessed in training clients. That being said, I don't think this is the be-all end-all, but I do think if you're advanced, you should give this a try. Your workout will be short, but you'll get something different, that's for sure. So I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna do a bunch of pre-exhaust supersets. So like, probably gonna do like a fly to an incline press and then like a dumbbell pullover to a pull-up. And then I think we'll do like a lateral raise to a shoulder press. And then maybe a bicep and tricep exercise and then we're done. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total sets for the body, for the upper body, all to failure. It's gnarly. Okay, I'm gonna try and do a little thoracic mobility because when I do heavy pullovers, if I'm not ready, I'll pop something in my upper back if I'm not careful. I like Catholic, like imagery and art, Orthodox too. I think it's really cool. Those are the oldest churches that follow Christ, and their artwork is just spectacular. You know what I learned the other day? This just goes to show you how little I knew about being a Christian. I always thought that stained glass windows in the churches were nice. I always thought they were cool, but I didn't realize why they had them. And then it was explained to me, 1,000 years ago, people didn't read. They were illiterate. And so those stained glass windows were essentially telling them the story of the gospel. So when you walk in, you could see what happened by following just adds so much more meaning to, what I just thought was decoration. New supplement I've been messing with, Ketone IQ. So it just gives you instant ketones. And if I have 1 or 2 of these before a podcast or a workout, it's like fire. It's not stimulatory, so I don't feel like stimulated, but I feel like sharp. So I've been experimenting with like 1 or 2 of them. Today we're going to do 2 because I'm being filmed. Therefore, I'm going to go max because that's apparently what I do. I max everything. Okay. It's really important if you try this style of training that you're really warmed up. This is like, in my opinion, the highest risk of injury form of strength training. So you want to get really warmed up. I'm going to share a little bit what happened yesterday. So as of right now, the only episode of this series that's up is the intro episode. So there's no training on it, I didn't work out. It's basically just setting the stage, kind of talking about how I came to Christ and then the struggles that I've had with this idol of fitness. And, I said this before, but didn't want to do this series. A lot of like anxiety around it, which is out of character for me. Just a lot of like mystery. So just kind of letting God lead. I don't know what it's going to look like. Just prayer. And yesterday, His mercy was just the comments that we saw under the video were so encouraging. I had such a joyful day with my family, my kids. I could feel His presence and just encouraging, because I know this. I know when I first became a Christian, talking about my faith to people, or especially on the podcast, there's like a fear. The fear is like, you're afraid that either people are going to stop listening to the show or I'm going to push someone away just because of how people can be around those kind of conversations. I remember early on talking to Chad. He's a pastor, but he coaches me weekly. Been working with him for about a year. And he's like, pray over it and listen to your convictions, and thank God that He gave me a big mouth. So I just started talking. And in God's mercy, there hasn't been that negative backlash. Could have been, and that would have been okay too. But it's just been encouraging. So yesterday, video goes up, and it's just encouragement after encouragement. And Dylan behind the camera here, I want to commend his courage because he has full creative reign. Like I told him, you make this, you edit it the way you want. Follow your convictions, pray over it. And he did. And so you could tell he didn't shy away from some of the stuff and the content. And just so much encouragement. Some of the comments, I saved some of them. You may be afraid to do this because of your struggles with making yourself God or making fitness what you worship. But in this video, you certainly brought glory to God. May God continue to bless you on this journey. All glory goes to God. I've learned so much from you about fitness over the years. Can't wait to see where this goes. And then this one, this blessed me, brother. I struggle with turning my fitness journey an idol too. However, my heart's desire is to give God all the glory. Thanks for your boldness. Praying for you, brother. Thank God you finally got saved. You are truly God's child. God bless you, brother. I pray to God that my husband gets saved. I'm a Christian, and it means the world to me that my husband gets saved. My husband sent your video to watch. I think he's going to believe because of your video. Thank you for sharing this with the world. God bless you and your family. Some of the craziest comments were people who said that they've been listening forever, back when I was an atheist, and who said that they were praying for me back then, which is just wild. This is the thing about Christians that's just so amazing. I used to think, like, when people say, I'll pray for you, I used to roll my eyes. Like, oh, cool, you know, you're doing nothing. It's the most loving, intimate, caring thing somebody can do. When you reach out to the God of the universe for someone else, and the fact that there were people who were praying for me when I was rejecting God early on, I mean, it was moving me to tears yesterday. Thank you for all you that were doing that when I was just stuck. I mean, that's just, obviously, your prayers helped. It's just crazy. All right, I'm gonna warm up here. Some people are plates facing out people, and some people are plates facing in people. I really don't care. However the first one goes on, the second one goes on. That's how I do it. We'll get the chest and the arms warmed up. I'll do maybe a little bit more warm up, and then we're gonna get crazy. So we sent Phil, so last time we had Phil Heath on the podcast, at the end, or after, off air, we started talking about, he was gonna do some plant medicine stuff or whatever, and I just felt convicted to ask him what he thought about Jesus. And he said he was feeling pulled in that direction. So we sent some texts back and forth, and I don't know where he is on his faith journey with that, but sent him the first intro video, and he wants to be on this. So after this workout today, I'm gonna be on a Zoom interview with Phil Heath, which I think is incredible. What's crazy is, I'm not gonna say all the names because I don't wanna, I wanna make sure that, I don't wanna say someone's gonna come on that's not, but what's happened is, like I said, Dylan and I had no idea what it's gonna look like. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know what the goal is. And what's happened since we've dropped that intro episode is all these people, some of them with a lot of influence in our space, are reaching out and they want to be a part of it. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it why God grabbed me the way he did. I don't get any of this, but he's doing it. So I'm gonna lean into it. I definitely don't deserve it. But anyway, it's turning into something. We'll see. We got this new sponsor, Dose, and it's an awesome product. Turmeric, dandelion, milk thistle, ginger, tastes really good. So I'll drink like a small cup, a little tiny serving like this. Basically helps support your liver. Now, why would you want to support your liver? We are inundated with xenoestrogens and plastics and all kinds of crazy stuff. Liver detoxifies the body. Typically it does a good job, but because we're so surrounded by just all this crap, I've used products like this for a while. This is one of the best ones I've seen. So I'll typically take it post-workout, although timing I don't think makes a difference. It's good stuff though. Let me warm up again a little bit. Okay, so the superset today is going to be flies to failure. That's the pre-exhaust. Pre-exhaust the pecs. Right after this, I'm going to run over and do incline chest press. So it's a single joint or isolation to compound, same body part. That's the Mike Mentzer. It's literally heavy duty. The book Heavy Duty talked about this. I bought Heavy Duty when I was 16. I'm a chalk fanatic. I think I said this last time. Liquid chalk is cool, not the same though. Better than nothing. All right, I'm gonna do another warm up here and then we'll get into it. You have to be careful with flies and going heavy. The risk of injury, pec tear is pretty high. So I've done these as heavy as like 85, 90 pounds. And I haven't done these in a while, so I really don't know where I'm at right now. So I'll probably go 65 and see how that feels. And then we'll do the inclines. Let me see. Those are 60s. Here's the 65s. That little workout we did with Johnny, I think I pulled in the oblique doing all those single arm back exercises. So at the end there, what I did were some partials, because the weight that I picked is a little heavy. I should have got more. So want to squeeze out a couple more reps. So basically, failure on flies first, failure on presses second, pre-exhaust, and then partials, so beyond failure. Another way to do that would be like force reps. It's gnarly. Takes a lot out of you. So next, I'm gonna do pullovers and then pull-ups. So that'll be the superset. Now pullovers, if I want to, I could be really strong in them. But the last couple times I went heavy, my thoracic won't feel too good. I think I don't have good mobility there. So I don't think I'm gonna go too heavy. I'll start with 65, but I think that's what I'll use. I've gone as heavy as 130 pounds. That's back when I would train them regularly. So these are cross bench pullovers. Yesterday I was having a conversation with my cousins. I think there's this common misconception when it comes to being a Christian, which I understand. This is how I felt too, as far as a Christian. When I was an atheist, I would look at Christians and I'd say, what a bunch of hypocrites, or look how judgmental they are. And there's definitely people who say they're Christian who are like that. But the truth is, one of the big differences between following Christ and any other religion is that all the other religions, every religion, gives you a set of rules or behaviors and says, if you do these well enough, then you'll get, into heaven, nirvana, paradise, whatever. What Christ says is, he says, essentially, there's nothing you could do, nothing you'll be able to do that will ever meet the standard of God. Like you're all screwed in that sense. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay the price for your sin. In other words, it's like you have a judge who's going to hand out a sentence, and you show up at the court, and the law says you have to go to jail for 30 years. Like, it's one of those kind of laws, right? Minimum sentencing law. And the judge says, all right, because he's just, right? You don't want a judge that's like, nah, I like you, you're better. I'll give you less of a sentence or let you free. Like, everybody wants a judge that's just, that's consistent. So he says, look, you did this, you broke this law, you got to go to jail for 30 years. And then right before you go to jail, someone else shows up and says, hey, I'll go to jail for 30 years for him. Let him free. And the judge is like, that's fair. So that's what happened. Christ literally paid the price for sin, for us missing the mark, for us being so far away from what God intended. So he says, look, I paid the price. I paid the price. You're in. You just got to follow me and accept me. And so I was telling my cousins that, and then they're like, well, what if someone does that and then they're just a bad person or whatever? Well, first of all, the truth is we all are. Nobody's even close to the ideal of God. So yes, some people do things that are horrendous, but 1 mile is as far from infinity as 1 billion miles. And God is infinity, infinite love, infinite goodness. So that's number one. But number two, the beauty of Christ is when you really truly accept it, you have to truly do it. You have to really, really, truly believe him, accept him, follow him, read his word, listen to your convictions, be with other Christians so they could help you confess. But those are just the actions that follow that when you truly let him in. When you truly let him in, the Holy Spirit, which is also God, takes residence in your heart and then changes your heart, guides you, because you can't do this on your own. I can't do this. It's a myth. It's a myth that you are on your own will, that you can meet his standard. It's impossible. So Holy Spirit comes in and says, I will guide you. Oh, and guess what? You're going to screw up the whole time, but that's okay because I paid the penalty. All you got to do is acknowledge that you're screwing up and you're given grace every time. That is the most inclusive faith that exists. It says anybody can come in. The thief on the cross next to Christ literally was crucified right before he died, looked at Jesus and said, you are God. And he said, you're going to be with me in paradise, the guy on the cross. So it's the most inclusive. So I think that's the most beautiful story that exists. And that is fundamentally the difference between following Jesus and any other faith. That's one of the reasons, there's a lot, one of the reasons why I know he is the truth. Hey guys, the response to this series has been so encouraging. It's been a very challenging but rewarding one. A lot of people behind the scenes. I got Dylan holding the camera here. We have people editing. There are a lot of people here that work at Mind Pump. There are sponsors that make this happen. They pay us so we can make these things happen and pay our employees. And one of them is Bioptimizers. We've been with them for a long time. They make Masszymes. These are digestive enzymes. They're really good for people who eat a high protein diet in particular to help break down your food and get that food to your muscles, improve your digestion. I'd appreciate the support. It allows us to continue doing this and it helps pay for people's salaries like Dylan behind the camera. All right, we're gonna do laterals to overhead press. Pre-exhaust. Let's do this. Not that long ago, my grandmother passed away and she was a special woman. Looking back, she was very godly, devout Catholic. Her nickname in the family was, her name's Katarina. Everybody called her Santa Catarina. It's like Saint Katarina. She was such a special woman. Prayed for everybody, so loving, incredibly patient, so selfless and self-sacrificing, but never with resentment, like out of joy. Just a special, special woman. Well, she passed away shortly after I became a Christian. And her whole family was with her when she passed away. We were all in there. We were all praying. Her house had just sold. She said she didn't want to go until her house sold. Literally, I think it was that day her house sold. And it was just, I really felt God's presence. And something stuck out to me. I remember thinking, because it's hard, death is hard, man. When you lose somebody you love, it's so hard. We were devastated. And I remember thinking of one of the most incredible stories in the Bible is when Jesus went to go see his friend Lazarus. And Lazarus had died. He'd already died. He was dead. So Jesus was on his way to see him, and he was met by, I believe it was his sisters. Don't quote me on that. I'm new to Scripture. But he goes there and they're like, oh, if you had only come earlier, he's already dead. Now, Jesus' response was to cry. Now, here's what's crazy about that. It's the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. Right after that, he resurrected Lazarus. So here's what's crazy about that. Here's our God, knowing full well he's going to resurrect Lazarus. He knew he was going to raise him from the dead. And yet he still cried. Our God cried. A lot of religions will teach you to detach, that don't get attached to things of this world, spiritual detachment or avoidance. And God says, no, it's terrible. Death wasn't supposed to happen. This is the result of the fall. And he cried with us. That was very comforting when my grandmother passed away, knowing that God was sad with me. It was still difficult, but man, it was the most comforting thing. Dylan, that sucks, Dylan. That sucks. What a myth. This feeling that I chase. Feel strong and powerful. Like I can do anything. Such a lie. Trying to break free from that feeling is so hard. I can't do everything. I'm not invincible. I need God every day, all the time. And yet I chase it. I want to feel like I'm a machine, like I'm Jack, like I can do whatever I want. Here I am chasing it right now. I know it's a lie though. Preacher girls to failure. Let's go. One note with these kinds of workouts, failure training tends to work better with slightly higher reps. So you could do failure training 5-6 reps, but in my experience, it tends to work better in like the 12 rep, 15 rep range. And I think it's because the lower reps aren't enough volume. So that's an opinion that I have. But typically if I recommend this kind of training, I recommend it for short periods, like 3-4 weeks, if that's all you're gonna do, and somewhat higher reps. And then what you'll experience, so long as you're healthy and well-fed, is you'll get strength gains every week. So for like 4 weeks, you'll get stronger every single time. Each area, each body part, you could train once a week. So like the heavy duty split, what that looked like was chest, shoulders, triceps. Wednesday was back, biceps. Friday was legs. Throw in abs wherever you want. And every week, like clockwork, you would see strength gains. And strength is the best correlate for muscle growth. It's not perfect, there is no perfect correlate, but strength is as close as it gets. Like if you get stronger, you're building muscle, most likely. You could get stronger through better technique and all that stuff too, but. Oh, you know what I forgot, Dylan? Shrugs. Let's do that first. Yes, I've got a thing for shrugs. Everybody's always like, why is there so many shrugs in anabolic? Because I said so, that's why. One set. Yeah. My 2-year-old just tried to call me. It's cute. It's the whole stack, Dylan. The whole stack. So I'm just gonna give you guys some advice. There are some exercises you can brag about, and other ones that are silly to brag about. For example, silly. A whole stack on tricep press downs. Guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. We're done with that one. I'd like for you guys in the comments, what would you like me to talk about? And of course, it'd be anything. Fitness, it could be on the faith walk, it could be personal questions, whatever. Just write in the comments things you'd like to see us talk about, or even people you'd like to have me in this series where I could talk to them about some of the stuff. I'd love that. So please do that in the comments. All right, dude, let's go talk to Phil Heath.